alright, it's okay. Hello, Tara. Oh, where is my... There it is. Wondered where that thumbnail was. No, I should go throw up. I can't. Okie dokie, pick it up, okie.
That you superimpose the skull with an ante-mortem image, a living image of the individual who's thought to be the victim. So what we do is we try and match up the shape and proportions of the skull with the shape and proportions of the face, right, to see if there are similarities or differences.
Using a photo of Geoffrey Howe and a CT scan of the skull recovered in Leicestershire, Caroline Wilkinson was able to manipulate the two images to try to establish a match.
First of all, if we look at the outline of the skull in relation to the outline of the face, you can see that the shape of the upper head, the curve of the head, matches up very well between the skull and the face. We can see the position of the orbits match up perfectly. If we look at the nasal aperture, which is the hole where the nose sits, you can see that the width and length of that matches up to the soft nose. If we look at the teeth, the position of the lower incisors match up to the incisors seen on the photograph, and also the overall width of the chin and shape of the jawline matches quite clearly.
The work in Dundee strongly suggested the skull belonged to Geoffrey, and once an odontologist matched the teeth with dental records, Geoffrey Howe was publicly identified as the victim on April the 23rd. The following day, Stephen Marshall and Sarah Bush were charged with murder and remanded in custody pending a trial date. But the investigation team's work did not stop there. It was now down to other forensic experts to come up with evidence that would prove crucial when the case came to court.
So that's all right then.
At the Forensic Science Service, Ray Palmer was analysing evidence to try and prove that Marshall was present at the time the murder and dismemberment took place. He wanted to focus primarily on the tape used to bind the plastic around the body parts.
This photograph here shows the duct tape which had been used to wrap the body parts inside a blue rubble sack. So our first priority was actually to remove the taping from the rubble sack in a manner which would allow us to recover and preserve any evidence which was on the adhesive side of the tape. In this particular instance, this kind of tape was used, which obviously, because it's been rolled up, is fibre-free. Because the tape's obviously been opened at the time to wrap the body parts inside the rubble bags, this means that the adhesive's exposed to the environment in which it's opened. And in this case, fibres from Stephen Marshall's environment have actually got onto the tapes at the time he's wrapped the items. And what he's actually done is he's sealed the evidence in himself.
The various samples were removed and mounted on acetate films similar to this one to preserve the evidence. The fibres were so tiny they were highlighted by red circles so the experts could examine them more easily.
Now, many people think of fibre evidence, they think of it in terms of threads, and what we're actually talking about here is the individual components of threads. But we're talking about sub-millimetre sized particles, which are very often much thinner than human hair.
Ray found fibre collectives that he believed came from a blue object with a peach skin texture. Forensic officers at the murder scene looked for an item that fitted that description.
We could link fibres from the tape used to wrap up the body parts to inflatable airbeds that we know that they bought, Bush and Marshall had bought, after Jeff's death. Because after the death, they got rid of the bed, because the bed, we believe, was quite heavily blood-stained, bought some inflatable airbeds, and fibres from those airbeds are identical to the fibres that we've recovered off the tape that wrap up the body parts.
This is a photograph of the one of the mattresses in question. And you can see it's very much a typical sort of thing you buy at a camping store. And it has a plastic inflatable sheath on which flock has been applied to the top surface. We removed fibres from the surface and placed them on a microscope slide. There are a number of comparative features we can look at, one of which is the actual cross-sectional shape of the fibre itself. Some fibres are irregularly shaped, some are very round, some are oval. In addition to cross-sectional shape, there's a chemical process involved in the manufacture of fibres called delustrant. That's a process which actually stops the fibres shining. So these are all features we can actually look at and compare directly against a suspect item.
Having identified a match between the two samples, there was further compelling evidence to link Marshall to the murder scene.
In addition to finding flock fibres, we found a number of green polyester fibres and green cotton fibres, which were subsequently found to match this green polo shirt, which belonged to Stephen Marshall.
The evidence was overwhelming and placed Stephen Marshall at Geoffrey Howe's flat at the time the body was being dismembered and wrapped up. But while fibre evidence implicated Marshall as the murderer, back in Dundee, Sue Black and her colleague Lucina Hackman were making some startling discoveries about the body parts.
Most dismemberments are unsuccessful or haphazard at best, because most individuals do not appreciate how difficult it is to separate the human body. If you think, right, I'm going to take a leg off, how do you do it? Well, you just cut across the thigh. And you might cut across the tissue, but once you get down to the bone, that bone's really tough. You can't cut through it with a kitchen knife. In most dismemberments, we expect to find So, for example, most of us in the public would find it very difficult to find where that junction is between the lower end of our radius and ulna and the start of our carpal bones, the radiocarpal joint at the wrist. Most of us would make several attempts and wouldn't get it right. And each one of those attempts would be recorded on the bone because you have that cut mark left. Marshall found it first time.
The body was dismembered at the joint. There's no cutting of the bone. And that's what takes the time in a dismemberment, is cutting through bone. You need an implement that will actually saw through the very large bones of the lower limbs, for example, and the larger bone of the upper limb. In this case, because the individual went through the joint capsules, all it meant was cutting through soft tissue and cartilage and then separating the body at those spaces. So the dismemberment could have been done in a couple of hours easily by somebody who knew what they were doing.
I've been an anatomist for at least 25 years, I would say, and I've seen quite a number of dismemberment cases. I have never, ever seen anything at this level of skill that I think, if I was given this task, if I had to do this, would I have done this any differently? And the answer is no, I wouldn't have done it any differently. He did it perfectly. And would I have done it any better? No, I couldn't have done it any better. So this is someone who, as an anatomist, I'm looking at an equal in terms of skill. And that's quite chilling.
Yes, it's yours.
The forensic team's investigations had raised further questions for the police force.
A line of inquiry was to try and establish whether or not Marshall had any background in knowledge of anatomy, whether he'd previously been a butcher, gamekeeper, something along those lines. But no evidential link was established there.
This left no logical explanation as to how Marshall had acquired these skills, and investigations into his past continued. On the 1st of May 2009, Marshall and Bush appeared in Stevenage Magistrates' Court. They both entered a plea of not guilty, and at the prosecution's request, it was January 2010 before the case went to trial.
Right from the start of the trial, there were surprises, even before the jury had been sworn in. Marshall had originally pleaded not guilty to everything, but on the first day he changed his plea and he admitted dismembering the body. What he didn't admit to was the murder.
Yeah, we'll go up thingy on Monday.
Stephen Marshall and Sarah Bush were being held pending
charity
trial
place.
for
Oh,
the
man, going
murder
in
and
furniture place.
dismemberment of kitchen salesman
You wanna
Jeffrey
see what's in that
Howe
one?
in March
We've got 3
2009.
stores open now.
The pair had pleaded not guilty at an initial hearing, and a prosecution case was being mounted against them. On January the 12th, 2010, the case was due to begin here at St Albans Crown Court.
I'll have one later.
Just prior to the court case starting, both Bush and Marshall needed to
Like me
present
having
us
that
with a
one
defence
the
case
other
statement.
week. That's a
During
rare
that defence
occasion.
case statement, Bush was claiming
You know
that
what I'm like?
Marshall had carried out the
Do
murder,
that,
and
puppies.
Marshall was claiming that Bush had carried out the murder. It's what the prosecution called a cutthroat defence, where you have two people suspected of a crime and they both blame each other. So they're effectively pointing the finger of blame at the co-defendant, and their legal team will be.
I did ask White Bank how his dad was the other
adducing
day,
all
but he
evidence
ran
they
off.
can that blames the co-defendant. So effectively they're carrying out some of the role of the prosecution
He'd already
in
left.
a cutthroat defence because they're blaming each other, and that evidence gets presented to the jury.
This tactic was not seen as unusual, but there was one twist from the outset that was not expected. One of the few journalists who attended the entire court case was Rosa Silverman.
Right from the start of the trial, there were surprises, even before the jury had been sworn in. Marshall had originally pleaded not guilty to everything, but on the first day he changed his plea and he admitted dismembering the body. What he didn't admit to was the murder. Right from the start, we had a slightly bizarre situation where he had actually admitted cutting somebody up, but claimed that he was not guilty of murder. And we all learnt of that before the jury had heard anything. And then there were 3 more weeks in which Marshall maintained
I've been in
that
the
while he
bushes,
had
in and
committed
out.
the body, he
Yeah.
hadn't actually been
In the
guilty of
bushes.
murder. He seemed pretty impassive. He looked resolute. He
Yeah, a
looked
bit.
like he was concentrating very hard. He was taking it all in. He looked very serious, but he didn't betray any emotion, and he didn't look at Sarah Bush at all.
Anyway, what am I doing?
The lack
Oh,
of a
spray
rapport
paint,
between them in
that's what
court,
I'm
the lack
doing.
of any kind
Finished.
of noticeable eye contact or exchange of smiles
Well,
or
get in touch
exchange
with
of any
the bloke who
words or
designed that
anything
dragon.
at all suggests that relations between them
Hello?
had frozen somewhat
bloke who
since
designed the
they were
dragon?
arrested and held in
I'm going
custody.
to get hold of him to design the one what I want.
Right.
And see
As
if he
the
can
case
make it.
progressed, the
12 inch
prosecution
by 12
witnesses
inch.
painted a grim picture of Marshall's character.
Marshall was known to us, he's got a history of violence, and again that was evident in what the court heard throughout the time the prosecution were presenting their case. Quite clearly, he has a propensity to violence. You know, we heard about different levels of violence that he'd used to a number of witnesses that gave evidence during the trial. So a very manipulative, dangerous individual who wouldn't bat an eyelid at turning to extreme violence.
But some of the most compelling facts presented to the court focused on Marshall and Bush's actions after the murder, which had left a significant trail of evidence.
The evidential links showed that both Bush and Marshall were plundering all of Howe's assets immediately after his death. Not particularly intelligent, because that was always going to lead the police back to them.
And the abuse of Jeffrey's assets, stealing his money, began less than a day after he was murdered. On the 9th of March, Marshall sold Jeffrey's phone for £15 at this shop.
Hey,
The following
Patrick!
day, Sarah Bush used
Hiya,
the internet at
Patrick.
St Albans Library to buy a mobile phone using Jeffrey's account.
Oh, no.
Clothes were purchased online using his name and bank details. And regular fast food and supermarket orders were made to various addresses
basically bits for
connected
dinner
to Bush
tomorrow.
and Marshall.
Cat litter.
And then the pair got greedier.
And a bottle
They
of
started
bleach.
writing checks to themselves
To
from
replace the
Jeffrey
one that
Howe's
was in the
account,
thingy.
including one for
There's some
£850
scours, I think.
deposited in Bush's account on the 12th of March.
And probably
A
another
week
tin
later,
foil.
Stephen Marshall was captured on CCTV,
Oh!
paying in a cheque for just under £100 from Jeffrey's account into his own. Then, on the 21st of March, Marshall sold Jeffrey Howe's car via an online auction.
When they sold Jeff's car, they sold that to a non-suspecting member of the public. But on the receipt was both Marshall and Bush's fingerprints, which was key, obviously, from an evidential point of view, as we built the case around them.
And before he sold the car, Marshall swapped the registration plates with his own ones. He was later spotted driving away from a petrol station without paying for the fuel, in his car, now sporting Jeffrey's personalised number plates.
About £5,000 was what Bush and Marshall had got away with, what they managed to access from Jeff's
Well,
sort of
definitely
personal
ain't it.
accounts and so on. Not a significant amount of money. And
That ain't
it's
it.
just
I've
very
already
difficult
tried
to
it.
comprehend how anybody
That's
can
when the
give that
boat walked
level
further up the river.
of violence to carry out the murder and then the dismemberment afterwards. It's unbelievable.
What are you doing, kitty cat? I'll show you dinner in a bit.
The court had been in session for 3 weeks and the case for the prosecution was coming to a close. But before Marshall and Bush were called to the stand, there was another unexpected twist in proceedings.
To tonight's other news now, and a man who's on trial for killing his colleague and then scattering his body parts across Hertfordshire and Leicestershire has pleaded guilty to murder.
It's particularly rare for anybody charged with murder to plead guilty because of the nature of the offence that they're charged with and the potential sentence that they're going to receive. So it's very rare for anybody to plead guilty to start with, but to actually then start a trial and to change your plea halfway through the trial is even more rare. Certainly an experience that I've not had before. It was only at the end of the prosecution case that such was the wealth of the evidence that we presented that Marshall finally turned round and pleaded guilty.
I think he had to change his plea. I think he had nowhere else to go. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The standard of the witnesses that gave evidence at court was outstanding also. And I think that he realised that the following day or later on that day he would be asked to account for his actions.
And with Marshall's change of plea, the charge of murder against Sarah Bush was withdrawn.
Bush pleaded not guilty to all the charges against her at the start, but then at the end, when Marshall had pleaded guilty to murder, Bush then admitted some lesser charges. She admitted helping to dispose of the body parts and giving the police false information about the whereabouts of a missing person.
Having admitted to Geoffrey Howe's murder, Marshall then stunned the court further as he made an astonishing revelation.
Stephen Marshall's secret past and involvement in gangland murders was revealed to the court today by his own defence barrister, who said that he'd learnt to cut up bodies because he'd done it before, not once, but 4 times. Apparently, he helped dispose of the victims of gangland executions
I'm glad you made it
while
home.
he worked as a nightclub doorman in the mid-90s.
Oh, good.
He came out with this shock confession almost, which he really didn't have to do.
I was just aghast by the fact that in mitigation, generally people will say that they've had poor upbringings, there's been financial issues, things such as that, but to actually turn around and say in mitigation that they've actually dismembered 4 other bodies was just, well, I've never heard of that before ever.
I assumed we would be looking for somebody who had these skills in their normal, legitimate, professional requirements. Never somebody, I didn't even know that we had people who were experienced in this for this purposes. It's been a huge learning curve for me. When it turned out that his experience was actually in dismemberment for criminal purposes, that was totally unexpected. It fitted, but it was not something that we had expected to be the answer.
With no need for Marshall and Bush to take the stand, sentencing swiftly followed.
When the sentence was passed, Marshall still didn't really change his demeanour that much. He remained impassive. I would have thought he knew what was coming. Bush came across as pretty vulnerable. She didn't look as stony-faced as Marshall. She was quite hard to read, but she just seemed very young, perhaps slightly naive, out of her depth.
Bush was sentenced for perverting the course of justice and got a sentence of 3 years and 9 months. Marshall got a life sentence, which is a statutory sentence to be given in the murder investigation, but he had a minimum term to serve of 36 years.
And as far as the astonishing evidence Marshall gave in mitigation about his disposal of gangland murder victims' bodies, the Metropolitan Police tell us that no links have been found to any outstanding cases.
I personally think that he's just pure evil, pure evil. We see bad people, we deal with bad people, and we're professional, and we try not to take on board what they've done, but I think for Mr. Marshall, he's just an evil man.
He's got to serve at least 36 years before he's eligible to apply for parole, and that means he's going to be at least 74 before he's eligible to come out, so it's fair to say he will spend the vast majority of his adult life behind bars, which is where he deserves to be.
Well, they've not met since the 2006 World Cup, but tomorrow night in a friendly at Wembley, they'll face each other. Again, that's England versus Sweden at 7:30. Next, though, we're off to the zoo.
No, we're not. Stop snoring. I went quiet because I could hear her snore. She's awake, but she's snoring. How's that happen? Yeah, she can be sneaky. Okay. Wow. Wow. Oh my word. I bet the next thing you'll need is physiotherapy on it to get it moving in like that. You know what I mean? Wow. Double checking. Double checking. Yeah. Wowzers. Yep. Okie dokie. Okay, so these aren't the ones that I'm looking for. Yeah? I know, I'm reading the chat. I do not know, Nicole. I do not know. Well, that explains a lot then. Mash your peas. Mm-hmm. Who's Christina? Don't know what that was all about. Yeah. Could be. Milk butter dinner. Put that yummy thing up. That we're starting to like. Have you been on their profile, Nicole? I'm guessing that's a yes. My foot's gone to sleep. just love it when your foot goes to sleep. Okie dokie, one sec. Oh, fuck off. That was my response to that. I had a feeling it was him. Stalker alert. Leave me the fuck alone. Yes, Budgie. Making new accounts and you're just going to get deleted again. Never learn, never learn, never learn. What part of Galway do you not understand? That's pissed me off now. Oh, what? Why? Magic. Go poof.
Oh no.
Nicole was like, oh no, shut it, fuck off. She didn't have the red off. I went, oh, fuck off.
More bowling soap. Antibacterial in there for you, little kitty chitty. Bowls in soap, nice and clean. You can have some Shiva, and yes, I'll do your baking tonight.
Leave me the fuck alone. dabba dabba.
Bingo.
B-I-N-G-O.
B-I-N-G-O. Bingo.
It's like that song.
B-I-N-G-O. D-I-L-D-O. D-I-L-D-O.
Ah?
Dildo.
Oh dear. No way. Hey.
D-I-L-D-O.
Stalker, stalker alert, stalker, stalker alert, stalker alert. Beep, beep, beep. B-I-N-G-O. G-I-N-G-O. No. Hang on a minute. I'm gonna make a word up. B-A-N-N-O. Oh, bollocks to it. Na da 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 na na na. Crazy. D-U-M-B-A-S-S. I'm trying. Never mind. Sometime. Mm-hmm. Na, 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 na. Hello. If you stop snoring now. Yeah. Yeah, Bubba. I'm a smooth criminal. It's all about money.
Hiya, princess. How are you doing? Good girl. Hiya, Walt. forward to having that pizza later.
Me too.
I know. Yummy.
Yummy, yummy, scrummy.
I was tempted to get one each, but it's like,
No, that's too much.
you know, it's a lot of pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day. How are you, Walt? I hope you're okay. Mmm. Yeah. You're always busy. You're always working, Walt. No, up to these upper puzzles and stuff, yeah?
What do you mean what they look like?
Oh. We'll see.
Another one bites the dust. Hey, hey, another one bites the dust.
And cook off that bacon. Come here. We're still spraying that thing. Trying to get enough coats on it.
Great. Haha! The other end of the boat. And that goes. No.
No. No. Oh, that's what I'll come down for, a drink. I knew I'd come down for something. A drink.
He gets sidetracked easily.
Who?
You.
Never. Hey, pretty cat. How you doing? Hey? You're a good girl, aren't you? Yeah. No attacking me again.
Well, she already attacked me. The computer said no. Itchy nosy nose. Fabulous Thursday, yeah. Fabuloso. What time is it? Banning time. Smudge.
set will be here soon. It's at the depot.
Cool.
So it might be here tomorrow if I'm extremely lucky. If not, it'll be here Saturday.
Right.
So no more wires in my way. But you'll have to set up the Bluetooth for me.
Mhm.
Terrific Thursday. No, it's Pizza Thursday. Isn't it? You want some pizza? Yeah?
No, Dad, I'd rather have a pie.
Yeah. Pie thief.
I do not know, Nicole.
What?
How long?
How long will it take a jackass to pull a rope this time? Depends how long the rope is.
Mhm.
Depends how big the jackass is. I wonder how many people have clocked that. Me flying past them in a Ford Focus RS. With bell end on the number plate, cutting them all up.
That was so funny.
I know, playing online, and I'm just cutting them all up. And it's just like, who's that mad bastard driving that Ford Focus? He's fucking me, with a number plate saying bell end.
That was funny though. When you showed me, I was like, what the hell?
You're driving like a frigging lunatic.
Yeah, but it's your way of going fast.
I'll have to do a screenshot for you and show you what I've been up to.
You'll freaking piss yourself laughing.
And the other player's like, who the fuck's that? It just cut me up at the junction. You just see Belen wrote on the number plate. All the other players online.
Right, okay.
Oh, you can see Mars.
Oh, bollock bum.
Bollocks!
I dropped one.
Oh dear. That'll be the mushy peas. Yeah, I'll have to screenshot that, what I've been doing. It's like, what are you doing driving around like that? Fucking cutting them up.
I need to stand up more. Ow! There.
You saucy bastard.
Saucy?
That's an AM5 blade, I don't want that. You don't need that until we super upgrade. That's a contact for him for an AM5. Hello, kitty cat. So what have I got to do now? I've got to sort out all this stuff for this computer, haven't I?
Mm-hmm.
Building another computer. I may as well. all the stuff for it, haven't
Yep.
in the bin. In the box. In the box. Don't know what's in them boxes.
What are you doing, Smadgy? Don't you dare pull that out.
Pull it, pull it, pull it! Excuse me. Pull your pig. Look you, Mr. Chester. Oh. Did I steal out of here the thermal paste? Oh, yes I did. What's the backing frame for AM? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I got it right here. What fans are in this thing? The colourful ones. Oh, not shit, don't drop that. Oh, they're just bog standard Infinity fans then. We'll change them out. Eh? Bit cheap anyway. Swap them out some Infinity mirror ones. Ah. Don't forget to hide the puzzle pieces from Smudgy. Oh yeah, I know. She'll nick them, won't you? Eh? Kleptomaniac. Kleptomaniac. He's a good girl. Yes, you are. Yeah.
Oh no, I always have to put them away once I've
Righto. Righty-yo.
yeehaw! Add a cowboy. Do 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 do. Got the bat, you got but. Come on. Get off the mobile phone, you're not calling anyone. Thank you. Right, I'm going to call it. I don't feel like I've done much on here, but I've done some of it. I was just trying to find the pieces for them. But it's got a bit, not lostified, but confused.com. But I did manage to do some of it and got most of it. I need that one. And I'm sure it's somewhere around here. Because that is going to bug me. Yeah, I'll ask her later. No, it's probably in one of the pots that I just got. It's probably there. If not, yeah, it'll be in the pot. That ain't it. But I'll find it. I'll find it. Right, I will be live later on. Just watch out for me. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you guys later. Lots of love to you all. See you later. Bye. See you later, alligator.